beyond the obvious, and how much special guests, helping business owners free up their focus on high value tasks like delegating low value tasks to AI trained virtual assistant, as well as speaker, delegation coach, VA, and AI expert, none other than Mr. Louis Swart.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Super appreciate being here, mate. Like, what a great privilege to be on your podcast.
Yes,
Thank you.
welcome, Mr. Louise on Africa saying, can you please introduce more about yourself that I met?
Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about me. Basically, I've been in business my whole life. I remember being when I was 30, I'd sold a business for 5 million, sitting in the bank, and they were counting out all the money they were counting out the money on one of those counting machines, going
Yes.
grrr, and then putting an elastic band and grrr, putting an elastic band. And I was
Uh-huh.
thinking back to a business that I had before that, and I had a plumbing business, and I had 10 plumbers, and I went to sell the business. And the broker said to me, Louis, who does the quality control? And I said, I do. And, everything he asked me, I do. And he said to me, Louis, your business is worth nothing because I have to find another person who's exactly like you. And I remember that being a devastating thing to me. But between then, I'd really learned about delegating. So I really studied how do I delegate better? How do I create better systems? And that's what allowed me to sell the next business for, 5 million because I'd learned when I went to sell that business, people said, who does this? And, I was able to point to different people on the team and none of the people were me. And so somebody else could just come in and buy it, no problem. So that's why delegation is so important to me because I've seen firsthand how it can actually increase the value of a business. But the other thing that it can do is it can actually, you can break up relationships and it can do all sorts of stuff if we don't delegate properly. Because we don't delegate properly, and so then our health suffers and our relationship suffers. And because we're using that time, we're getting the time from somewhere, and you've got to ask yourself, like, who am I stealing the time from? If I'm not delegating in my business and I'm doing a 14-hour day or a 12-hour day, I'm getting that time from somewhere. Who am I getting it from? So that's why I'm so passionate about getting people to delegate.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Louise. Here on Abstract Essay, we salute you, we celebrate you.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Yeah. So today, Mr. Louise, let's talk about delegate, elevate, and accelerate. You specialize in helping coaches stop being the hardest working, lowest paid person in their own business. What specific moment pattern that makes you realize a coach has fallen into this trap and why so many wear it so badge of honor?
I think it's because for me personally, I'd grown a big business in Australia. We were, kind of turning over 35 million. I felt like I personally was broken and I needed to work on me. And so I went and I did a whole lot of work with coaches. I became an NLP master practitioner and a hypnotherapist and a timeline therapist and constellation therapist and matrix therapist. And when I was doing all of these works, I was finding that all these beautiful people that were coaches, they were incredible people, but they weren't making any money. And so I was like, how do I help them? How do I help these people to actually make money from what they love doing? And part of that was the fact that they were doing all low value tasks themselves. So they were doing stuff that didn't have much monetary value. They were doing those tasks that they could have got somebody, for example, in the Philippines to do. So they needed to work out how much they needed to earn per hour, right? And if it was less than that, they needed to get somebody else to do it. And so that's really why I started uh, helping coaches as such. I help a whole lot of different businesses, but I kind of specialize in helping coaches.
Well said, Master. And Mr. Luis, tell us, you manage more than 450 staff across multiple companies you built and sold. What is the single hardest lesson you learned about delegation from scaling that large, and what mistake did you repeat before it finally stuck?
I think I've made so many mistakes. There's so many mistakes we all make. When we start delegating, we might even get somebody, we might delegate something to them, but then we feel like I've got to keep an eye on them, and then lots of times if they're not doing it exactly right, we want to take it back instead of just showing them how they could do it better, so that we could all benefit. We kind of feel like we've got to take back the task, and that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that we make. A second mistake that we make all the time is that we don't actually start to delegate. So, we all know that saying, and they said, if you want something done right, you need to do it yourself. And that's not true. That is not true at all. Okay. There's people that can do things much better than us in certain aspects in our life. For example, um, I do coaching, and I mean, and I'm really good at that. But when it comes to Canva, I'm really not the best at Canva. I've got staff that are amazing at Canva. They are way better than I could ever be. Um, and, so it's working out what type of person can do what type of role, and then delegating the right role to the right person.
Definitely, yes. So, Mr. Luis, with 30 plus years of business building experience, you could focus on any niche. Why coaches specifically? What do you see in the coaching industry that made you say, this help need me most?
Look, I think that coaches are incredible people, but they're not necessarily taught how to do business. So you can go and sign up to a coaching program, and they will teach you how to help people. They'll teach you how to put different systems in place, but they don't show you how to actually run the business side of it. And so that's what I'm trying to help people to do. How do we run the business side of whatever it is that you're doing? Um, and I specifically like coaches because I think that there's a massive call for coaches. There's a as AI comes in and more people lose their jobs to AI, and the roles that we're doing now are changed because of AI. As that's happening, we're going to need more people to just lean on for emotional support, uh, and I'm trying to help those people. I'm trying to help those people so that they can basically make money out of it so that they can serve more people.
Mm. Well, thank you for doing that, Mr. Louise. Many coaches say they can't delegate because no one can do this as well as I can. How do you
Yeah.
respond to the objection, and what is the real fear underneath it?
The real fear is that they don't want to lose control. So that's the real fear. The real fear is that they feel that either they will lose control of whatever the job is that they're doing. Okay. So if somebody else is doing the job, then maybe I'm not needed. And if I'm not needed to do that job, maybe I'm not worth, maybe I'm not worth as much, because they attach this, they lots of us attach our value to being busy. So you ask somebody, how you going? And I'm so busy. And they wear it this major badge of honor. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Um, and so if you were delegating, you wouldn't be so busy. Does that mean that you're not as good as if you were busy? Have you attached being busy to your identity? So that's the first one. Um, and then the losing control is really, you could be losing control with regards to, if you're getting somebody else to do it, it might not come out 100% the same as if you did it. Okay. So, if I create uh, if I edit a video of myself, I may do it slightly different to what my virtual assistant does, but very slightly. Um, and with that, we've got to just go back to, progress is better than perfection. How do we kind of get the message out there? How do we get the message out there? We don't have to worry about it being perfect. let's just get some messages out there for for so we can progress in our business. So those are kind of the main ones, I think. Oh, I can't hear you.
Well said, Mel. Well said, Mr. Louise. Many of our coaches teach us delegate, elevate, accelerate in the specific sequence. Why does delegation have to come first before elevation or acceleration? What happens when coaches try to skip to acceleration?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Okay, so in your business, most people are working in their business, So when you're working in your business, and let's use a basic example, let's talk about painting a house, right? So if you were painting a house and you actually the person painting the house, you're so busy painting the house that you haven't got time to look at new opportunities, and you haven't got time to actually look at better places to buy paint, um, and better ways to make money, better ways to market yourself, because you're really, really busy painting the house. As soon as you learn to delegate and now you get a second painter to help you, that means that half of the day they'll be painting, for example, and that allows you to go and shop around, find out where you can get the better paint. Um, it allows you to actually start looking at other opportunities that are available. So basically, you've delegated a task to somebody else, and that's allowed you to elevate out of your business. And now, once you're out of your business and you've got half a day to actually go and look for new opportunities, look at how you can do better marketing, look at what JVs or partnerships you can get. Now you can really accelerate your business. And once you've delegated that first person, it's much easier to accelerate your business and then go, I need another two people, because you've already put the systems and structure into to delegate to that first person. So now it's quite easy to go, I need a second person, third person, fifth person, 10th person, whatever that looks like.
Well said, Mr. Louise. Your company, Irnoborish, is it correct? Offers human AI powered, a virtual assistant. What is specific division of a labor between human and AI? What does AI handle and what the human handle? And why that split?
Excellent. So the company name is Iron Bridge. And basically we're bridging the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And initially we did all virtual assistants. We only did virtual assistants. I put staff in from a couple of different countries, but then we realized how big AI was becoming. So this was about 2 years ago, and then we started going like, how can we AI equip all of our virtual assistants? What do I have to do to make all of my virtual assistants actually be able to use AI so that they can then implement it for clients? And some of the things is, if you go onto Facebook now, there's posts like, oh, you can edit all your own videos. You just need CapCut. You need CapCut, um, uh, Opus Clip, and one or two other AI software, and you can edit all your videos. And that is true. That is true. You can, but it means that you need to pay the subscriptions for those softwares, and B, you've got to learn how to use those softwares. And unfortunately, that takes such a lot of time to do that. And it also costs you money for those subscriptions, that you might as well just delegate that task to a virtual assistant who already has got CapCut and Opus Clip and already knows how to do it. So that's why you would want to delegate it. The main reasons is it's going to save you money because you don't have to get the subscriptions, and it's going to save you time because that person already knows how to do it. So they're just going to step in, do it for you, give you the result.
Give the results. Wow, we love that. You claim coaches can build 6 months content plan in 60 minutes using AI and delegation. Walk us through that actual workflow, what happened in 1 minute, minute 30, and minute 60.
Okay. So with this, I find that a lot of people, this is a one-on-one program that I offer where I work one-on-one with the client. And I can tell you that probably the first half an hour is really just finding out what the client's avatar is. What are the problems, what are the fears, frustrations, dreams and desires that client is suffering, or the dreams and desires that the client wants. What are those? And then what product does the coach or business offer to that client? That takes up the bulk of the session because we go really deep. We really want to find that out. And then once we've got that, it makes it quite simple because then we can create video ideas for, what's the fear, frustration, top 10 fears, frustrations, dreams, and desires. We can create stories. So we create up to, we create like 20 stories that explain the concepts of what that person does. And then we also, create 20 hooks. We create 20 Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts or Instagram posts, whatever you want. Um, and then we also create a lead magnet. So we give you five, we create five uh, like ideal lead magnets, and we build out one of the lead magnets for you. And all of that's done in within 1 hour. And then I spend another 20 minutes where I interview you all about your business using some of the information that we've got. And then I break that down. My team breaks it down into short little videos, and we give you that back to put out on your social media. So it really is it's a process where we can really help you to get 6 months worth of content out quite quickly.
Indeed, well said, Mr. Louise. And you teach content that converts using AI. What's the difference between AI generated content that feels generic and AI assisted content that actually converts? What is the secret ingredient?
Excellent question. So at the moment, there's so much what they call AI slop on the market, where people are just creating content. They just you go into ChatGPT or one of the LMs, and you just say, create me 6 months worth of content, but you haven't really put the time and effort in to exactly who is the content for, and exactly what are you trying to tell them. And I'll give you a cool example. Okay. So I do some AI training. And one of the things is I get a classroom and I go, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to all write a story, Little Red Riding Hood. I want you to go onto ChatGPT and I want you to ask it to give you a story for Little Red Riding Hood. Now you can imagine if we all just did that, the stories would be pretty similar. Hey. But then I say, what I want you to do is I want you to think about something that you like or don't like, and I want you to overemphasize that. So, for example, we'll go on ChatGPT and we'll say, "Oh, I love unicorns and I love rainbows, and I want the prince, I want the princess to ride off into the sunset on the back of a white stallion with the prince." Okay, or you might say, I love horror movies. I want you to do like the Saw, the theme in Saw when he's like deciding whether he's going to cut off his own leg to survive. I love horror movies. I love, when there's something scary in the house. I want you to write me Little Red Riding Hood. Now, those two Little Red Riding Hood stories that AI gives you are going to be so dramatically different. Okay. And that's really the difference between AI knowing who we are, and us knowing who our client is. Okay. And exactly how we serve our client. That's the main difference between the two. That allows us to really come up with AI content that's going to really be good, for people. The other thing is on we're moving into an era when personal branding is super, super, super important. Okay, it's probably never been as important as it is now. And so, how do we get our brand? How do we get people to see our brand and actually really want to engage with our brand. You know, the the only way we can do that is really to have our face on our brand. So, you know, we know that people buy from people. So until you get big like Coca-Cola, I mean, even now, if we buy KFC, we see the Colonel. We see the image of the Colonel everywhere. Okay, so in your business, where are you putting your face? So you're doing some videos at least where you talk into the camera and people can see what kind of person you are. Have you got somewhere you're using images of you where people can see if you're somebody that they would like and could relate to? So it's really important that we get those aspects sorted, um, in order to be able to get content that's going to convert.
Convert indeed. Well done, Mr. Louise. And how to make more while doing less? What is the 20% of the effort that delivers 80% of the results for most coaches? And what is the 80% they need to stop doing?
So this is a great concept. You know, the 80/20 rule, there's a whole lot of scientific stuff behind it. But 80% of the work that you do is only going to bring in 20% of the money. And 20% of the stuff is going to bring in 80% of the money. So, how do you work out what that 20% is? And the easiest way to do it is to actually work out what are high and low level tasks. And the way we do that is we've got a formula. It's called the 2000 hour formula. And pretty much, if you think about your next year, if you worked for a boss, you'd probably work 40 hours a week. That's kind of a week, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And you could probably work about 50 weeks in a year. So that's about 2,000 hours. Now, if you take the 2,000 hours and you divide whatever you want to earn by the 2,000 hours. Now, let's say you want to earn $100,000. Okay. If you divided it by 2,000 hours, that would give you a figure of $50 an hour. We then take that figure of $50 an hour, and that's a benchmark. Every hour you need to make more than $50. Okay. So think about your business. What could you do that would make you more than $50 an hour? You know, if you're creating lead magnets, if you're doing sales calls to clients, if you doing networking events, all of those things will actually get you more than $50 an hour. If you actually sitting in a coaching call, or if you're actually in a business meeting with a client, that's going to get you more than $50 an hour. But all those other little things, like you doing, potentially doing your own Canva documents, or reaching out to people on Facebook, or sending out emails to people, all of those things, they're important, but they're not worth $50 an hour. You're not going to earn $50 an hour from doing those. So you need to work out how can you actually get somebody else to do those for $10 an hour, so that you can focus on the $50 and getting $50 and more. And generally, the $50, whatever that figure came to for you, you need to double it, because you don't ultimately want to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year.
Mm. And Mr. Luis, to wrap up our discussion for today, you noted there one question coaches should ask but usually don't. What is the most powerful questions a coach can ask themselves about their business model right now?
The most powerful question you can ask yourself is, if you take that 2,000 hour rule and you've worked out a figure, and let's say that figure is $100, you need to write a post-it note, and you need to put it on your computer or on your wall or something. And every time you're doing something, you need to look up at it, and you need to say, would I pay somebody $100 to do this? And if the answer is no, you shouldn't be doing it. You should be delegating it to a VA or to AI.
Well said, Mr. Luis. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your projects, or anything you want to promote on Entrepreneurship 101?
Absolutely. If you follow me, you can just go to louisswart.com, and you can see all the information about what I've got coming up. or you can go to the company Iron Bridge, spelled IRONBRIJ.com.au, because it's Australia. And there's a whole lot of stuff in there. There's a whole lot of free giveaways there as well. And Daniel, I'm sure we can put those into the comments for your podcast.
Yes, definitely I will. So, Mr. Louise, I have one more question before I will let you go. When listeners goes to to your website after this episode, what is the first thing they will see, and what is the one commitment you want them to make before they leave?
Ideally, I'd like them to book a virtual coffee with me. Book in a half an hour coffee with me. Let's sit down and just have a chat about your business, and I'll see how I can either help you or how we can collaborate together and make both of our businesses bigger.
Yes, definitely. So, Mr. Louise, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel. I super appreciate you.
Likewise, I will invite you again to my entrepreneurship 101, and let's talk about business, business, business. Okay, Mr.
Beautiful.
Luis, thank you so much for your
Thank,
time.
thank you, mate. Okay, bye.
Modicom people, see you soon.